Lastly, Michelle Obama is a man. Am I right, America?
Look, I'm trying to be nice to these people. They were lousy presidents. And, this one coming is the worst. She makes Obama look like forget it.
Sarah, why is it so hard for Trump to say that this was wrong when it was obviously offensive and wrong, and people who may share his politics are very clearly saying such?
I think expecting Trump to say or do the right thing is useless and disappointing. Look, this is the guy who posted a racist meme of the Obamas depicted as monkeys. This is a guy who posts memes depicting himself as Jesus Christ. There's no decency or decorum in this White House. And when the White House was asked for comment, they also praised the performer, praised the performance of the fighter. They didn't comment on it. They had every opportunity to condemn it. And yes, it's nice hearing folks like Dave Portnoy and Dana White come out and denounce this attack. But it shouldn't take a pressure campaign from people on the right to get the president to do the right thing. You should immediately condemn something like this. Something really interesting, though, is that we have seen Trump willing to condemn conspiracy theories like this. He did it with President Macron of France and his first lady, his wife, when she faced similar accusations of being a man. Candace Owens saying it. President Trump came out and said that that wasn't true and condemned it. But then he can't do the same thing for Michelle Obama. Makes you wonder, what's the difference between those two women in his eyes? Think that it is really pathetic of this administration, and it's really pathetic of that White House spokesperson. As a former deputy press secretary myself, I would be embarrassed to have my name on a remark like that, praising the performance of the fighter. I mean, come on, it's pathetic. She has not been in office, or her husband has not been in office, and she has not been the first lady for nearly a decade, and yet she continues to live rent-free in these losers' heads.
Donald Trump doesn't walk around thinking he's a bad guy. He justifies his own behavior. Those rationalizations, I imagine, are beyond you and me. It's very difficult to put yourself in their position. And that's the thing that's so frightening about it, is that that when people become alienated because of power or money, they become unapproachable. They become beyond talking to because they have all these inbuilt protection mechanisms. They actually don't need people anymore. They pay people. When you can no longer take in new information or ideas, that's when you sort of start to atrophy and die. And when those people are in positions of power, it's pretty scary. But I think that everything that's happening now stems directly from the presidential election, that people's outrage reached a point where they couldn't tolerate it anymore. It became unmanageable, unlivable. Trump keeps giving us more material. And so the movement and the fallout from so many men of power continues to gather momentum and passion, because we realize that it's become an intolerable situation.
The immigrants proving what it truly means to be a dreamer. These folks aren't Americans too. They are America. They are the beating heart of this country. They are us, and we are them. And to ignore this simple truth, to refuse to respect the contributions and experiences of people who aren't exactly like us, puts us all at risk. Failing to see the humanity in all people puts us all on a slippery slope. And once that slide starts, there's no telling where it stops. A dangerous precedent that flies in the very face of our faith and of the founding promise of this democracy, that all of us are created equal.
Recently, I've been posting about Josh Ockett mocking Michelle Obama, but I'm still receiving messages in the comment. I'm receiving emails. Some they are saying you should sue him. These guys they don't respect our first lady. These guys are this and this, and most MAGA, I don't know why they are attacking Michelle Obama. I don't know why they are jealous.
In a podcast released today, former President Barack Obama broke his silence on President Donald Trump, posting a video depicting both him and his wife, Michelle Obama, as apes. Take a listen.
First of all, I think it's important to recognize that the majority of the American people find this behavior deeply troubling. It is true that it gets attention. It's true that it's a distraction. There's this sort of clown show that's happening in social media and on television. And what is true is that there doesn't seem to be any shame about this among people who used to feel like you had to have some sort of decorum and a sense of propriety and respect for the office, right? So that's been lost.
Of Obama, just like Donald Trump, the guy doesn't like the Obama family. I don't know what they did to him, but the guy just doesn't like them. Always create story about them. Always mock them in the cartoons.
President Obama, and if he wanted help, I'd give him help because I'm a really good builder and I build on time, on budget. He's building his library in Chicago. It's a disaster. And he said something to the effect, I only want DEI, I only want woke. He wants woke people to build it. Well, he got woke people, and they have massive cost overruns. A job is stopped. I don't know. It's a disaster. And I don't like that happening because I think it's bad for the presidency that a thing like that should happen. He's got a library that's a disaster. And he wanted to be very politically correct, and he didn't use good, hard, tough, mean construction workers that I love, Marco. I love those construction workers. But he didn't want construction workers. He wanted people that never did it before. And he's got a disaster in his hands, like millions of dollars, really many millions of dollars over budget. And I would love to help him with it, or somebody else. I could recommend professionals, but it was not built in a professional manner.
Let us hear what these guys are saying about why these guys, every time they are jealous of Barack Obama, and even they have decided to set up someone to mock them.
So Josh Hokett says that Michelle Obama is a man. Well, you know what? If Michelle Obama was a man and Michelle Obama and Josh Hokett was in a room together, at least there'd be one man in that room.
Did you notice the necklace Josh Hokett put on Donald Trump? No one realizes that after publicly mocking Michelle Obama as a man, he used 3 methods to protect himself from punishment. First, the event fell on Trump's 80th birthday. Josh was the only one who personally put a symbolic necklace on Trump, presenting this unique birthday gift. This solidified Trump's long-term favoritism toward him. Josh had previously used the exact same words to insult WNBA star Brittany Griner, perfectly catering to the far-right voter base. As a result, the White House spokesperson directly refused to condemn his remarks. Second, Josh donated his entire $100,000 prize money to the White House for renovation. Dana White has a deep personal friendship with Trump and publicly stated that UFC never silences fighters, guaranteeing them freedom of speech. Josh calculated that as long as he didn't break the law, the company would never truly ban him for its own business interests and personal connections. Third, shortly before the fight, Josh signed an 8-fight contract with UFC. This long-term contract made it extremely difficult for the promotion to terminate him without major violations. He also maintained his undefeated 10-0 record with a clean victory. In this business empire driven by headlines, he secured his position as a cash cow for years to come. This combination of contract and record made it impossible for UFC to suspend him or deduct his pay. Do you think Michelle Obama will hold him accountable?
The first time former President Obama is publicly addressing President Trump's racist post depicting him and former First Lady Michelle Obama as apes. What is he saying?
Yeah, this was on a podcast interview. It was wide-ranging, and the former President Obama, he discussed how there is no longer any decorum, but he said that most Americans still find this kind of behavior troubling. He also said there's a, quote, clown show that's happening on social media and television. Take a listen to what he said.
First of all, I think it's important to recognize that the majority of the American people find this behavior deeply troubling. There's this sort of clown show that's happening in social media and on television. And what is true is that there doesn't seem to be any shame about this among people who used to feel like you had to have some sort of decorum and a sense of propriety and respect for the office, right? So that's been lost.
And as a note, President Trump still has not apologized for the racist video, and the White House has taken down the video. It since has, but it's blaming it on an unnamed staffer. So that video also only coming down after an outpouring of outrage from both sides of the aisle, including from some of the president's closest allies on Capitol Hill.
Well, would you be surprised to learn that the most shocking part of Trump's invasion of Venezuela springs from his desire to be the center of attention and his infantile, overwhelming jealousy? Well, you shouldn't be, because that's precisely who Trump is and who he's shown us to be for more than a decade in political life. Let me explain. You may remember that the day after the invasion, he gets up on the stage and he's asked by a member of the media, hey, will Maria Corina Machado, the Nobel Peace Prize winner, the one whose party won the presidential election, the leader of the opposition movement in that country who had the presidential election stolen by Maduro, will she have a role in, a transition to democracy? And of course, the only possible answer is yes. Overwhelming public support, a heroic story. And what does Trump say? Knowing nothing about Venezuela or its people, he has the audacity to claim, well, she doesn't have the support of, and I don't think she has the respect of the people. So, he just unilaterally decides, as like the king of Venezuela now, apparently, that she's going to be excluded from everything. Now, apparently, this comes from, according to reporting that just dropped from the Washington Post, the fact that he was mad and jealous that when she got the Nobel Peace Prize, she should have rejected it, according to Trump, and said, I can't take this, you should give it to Trump. Can you imagine how insane it is to be someone who thinks like that? It's unbelievable. And even though she dedicated to that Nobel Peace Prize to him later, it's still not enough. So he's making major geopolitical decisions, overriding the democratic hopes and dreams of an entire nation of 26 million people with a landmass larger than Germany, because he's jealous. Incredible.
Did you give something to President Trump?
Yeah, I had a card signed, one of my not UFC cards, but like one of my fighting cards, and so I signed it. I made a necklace out of it, and so I thought that would be a good gift to give to Trump.
Josh Hawkett, he was just an character. He wasn't made to do that, but maybe he's trying to be a comedian. And most of the wrestlers, boxers, they have too much words. He just wanted to steal the show. After paying him, he said, I need to use those 3 seconds to trend. And Donald Trump, just keep quiet, don't say anything. Me, I'll do my job. That's what he did. See what these guys are saying.
He's just mad Michelle Obama could kick his ass. Yeah, the guy who threw up on himself and then went on TV and said, Michelle Obama is a man, Josh Hawkett. He's just upset that Michelle Obama is not only smarter than him, more successful than him, but she could also take him down. And his statement and the crowd's reaction, Joe Rogan, and even Donald Trump smiling when he said that proves everything I ever thought about the UFC, its fighters, and the majority of its fan base. I said what I said. Now, why go after Michelle Obama other than the fact that she's an incredibly intelligent, accomplished black woman in America? I mean, for most white people and white men in particular, that's reason enough. But here's the thing. The Obamas live rent-free in all of their heads. Not just Barack, but Michelle too. Why? Because they know that they could never measure up. And white men in particular are really upset that they can never measure up to a strong, intelligent, educated black woman who could probably also take him down.
Obama is a man! Am I right, America? Ladies and gentlemen, Josh Hawkett.
So as Hawkett wraps up his interview, walks away, you can see the president there on the other side of the ring. He can be seen sort of half smiling as there's a mixture of cheers and boos. And when CNN asked about Hawkett's comment, the White House refused to directly address the question. The UFC is commenting, though. CEO and President Dana White called it nasty and false and dismissed it as nonsense.
All the best athletes, they have this type of perspective. You have to be one of the most unique athletes in the world right now. I mean, as far as going from earning a scholarship, going to the Niners, and then experiencing the UFC as well, just kind of rewinding that back a little bit. I mean, walk-ons don't make it to the NFL. Yeah. What kept you going?
They could see the measurements. They all look at the measurements. They look at the speed, the height, how far you could jump, how fast you are. But it's like they can never measure what's inside of someone, whether they got the dog, they can't measure the competitiveness. I'm super competitive, and that's what just keeps me going. I don't like when someone says that they're better than me. When you get brought in as a walk-on, that's basically what they're saying. You're not good enough to get a scholarship. And it's like all the best athletes, they have this type of perspective, ultra competitive perspective. Looking back at it, I'm like, what got me through that? It was, looking at it like that. They brought me as a walk-on. They didn't believe I was good enough to get a scholarship. That alone made me want to prove everybody wrong, and so I just want to prove myself right.
One of the reasons why a lot of people thought that having a UFC fight at the White House was in poor taste. And so that's already the narrative going into this thing. You have someone then say something that's horrible at the White House, right, about a former first lady. And these people in the White House, Stephen Chung, the president, nobody has the guts or the decency to say, that's inappropriate, it shouldn't have been said, it's wrong. Why?
Yeah, I would do that. I would say we don't endorse these comments.
But why won't they?
I don't know. I haven't really talked to them about it. I mean,
you talked to the president on Sunday.
My assumption is, Sunday morning. My assumption is that they get asked to condemn things all the time. Everybody, everywhere that says something, they're constantly being asked to condemn things. And my guess is they just sort of have a policy not
Aren't
to
there
do
some things that they should condemn?
This is a pretty easy one. This is the former first
I don't get
lady.
it. I don't get it. The idea that they always have to condemn things is not an excuse for not condemning things that should be condemned.
He can't condemn it. He can't condemn it because he too has engaged in conspiracy theories against Michelle Obama. Well, in December, he reposted a meme about her having snuck into the Oval Office and used Joe Biden's auto pen to pardon people. Donald Trump, reposted that. In February, he reposted another smear of her that says she was an anti-white racist. And Don Jr. himself, 2 years ago on Trans Visibility Day, posted this very same meme that this guy expressed the other night, that Michelle Obama was trans. And he did not condemn it then, so he cannot condemn it now. So he is involved in it.
They believe that this is something that's near and dear to the hearts of their base, and so they coddle it.
I think
what's going on?
The Michelle Obama line was very distasteful and useless, does nothing good for you in that moment. There's no one that sees that. I'd like to think it says, that's my guy. Like, it does nothing for you. All it does is bring unnecessary attention to you. All it does is bring scrutiny, criticism, and it apparently has pissed off Dana White. We've always asked, what's the line? Well, here's Time that reached out to Dana White, who said in response to the comment, I understand that the Obamas are public figures, but I'm completely against saying nasty and false things about people's families. Thank you. And that's exactly what he should be saying. Everyone knows my position on free speech, but I hate that kind of nonsense. Does he say anything else? The White House did not immediately respond to Time's request for a comment about Hokit. I had a friend of mine who works in the business I hope you blast Joe Rogan for that. Why? What did Joe Rogan have to do? That to me was Josh Hokit and Josh Hokit only. I don't blame the White House for that. I don't blame the UFC for that. I don't blame Joe Rogan for that. Why? It was just, he was doing well. You know what I loved? He wins the fight and then he gets on the microphone. He's like, I was sitting next to Jacqueline, my wife, and I'm like, okay, here comes, watch this guy. He's going to do a poem, which is impressive in its own right after a fight. And then he goes, forget it. And I'm like, wow, this is great. We're going to get a real freaking promo from him. And then he drops that. Unnecessary, man. He's very talented. Why allow yourself to be held back? There's no payoff. There's no payoff.
A devil's advocate question.
Yeah.
Is he going to be held back by this?
No, but it's just, dude, you just won on the White House.
I'm with you.
This was self-inflicted.
But
it was so self-inflicted.
Inflicted implies that this will harm him, right? If there are no repercussions, is the UFC going to do anything about this?
No. But look, they determine everything, right? There is no meritocracy. So I could see Mark Shapiro or Ari Emanuel being like, yo, man, we can't.
Not asking anyone to believe me. I'm telling you what's there and what isn't.
Right.
There is nothing in the file at this point on the Epstein case, and there's going to be a disclosure on this coming shortly. We are working through there is video. That is something the public does not.
There's video of him killing himself.
No, not the actual act, but the entire MCC Bay, it was only one camera. There's video that when you look at the video, and we will release, that's what's taken a while on this. We are working on cleaning it up to make sure you have an enhanced, and we're going to give the original so you don't think there were any shenanigans. You're going to see there's no one there but him. Right. There's just nobody there. So I say to people all the time, if you have a tip, let us know. But there's no DNA, there's no audio, there's no fingerprints, there's no suspects, there's no accomplices, there's no tips, there is nothing. If you have it, I'm happy to see it. There's video clear as day. He's the only person in there and the only person coming out. You can see it.
So if you're looking for funny, for comedy, for humor, this guy going back to an audience who now knows he's completely full of shit is probably peak humor, if you ask me. But all of that puts on full display just how ridiculous this statement was by Dana White.
We created some unity in the country and in the world and brought in some new fans. I hope that's what we walk away with tonight.
You hosted an event at the White House where one of the fighters called President Obama's wife a man. Yes, truly this event brought the country together. Bravo, Dana. Bravo. The reality is that nothing that Donald Trump does brings the country together, and it was never intended to. In fact, the whole reason that Trump focused on UFC specifically is expressly because that is the one sport where he is most popular. This wasn't about mending fences, it was always about doubling down on where Trump already had the most support. I've said this before, and I'll say it again, I'm not against the UFC. I wrestled for a decade. Combat sports are a part of who I am, a part of who this country is. But it is not the government's job to host human cockfighting because the God King wants entertainment. This isn't Rome and the Colosseum. And more importantly, we've got people in this country who are hurting, who can't afford food or healthcare or housing. And the message being sent to them right now is that Trump is more focused on hosting blood sports in his front lawn than helping anybody. And yet, this is who Trump is. He is in it for himself. That's why he spent his presidency building himself a ballroom, buying himself a jet, repaving the Rose Garden for himself, slapping his name on the Kennedy Center, putting banners with his own face on it on side of government buildings, trying to build a new arch. This is about Trump, which would be bad enough by itself, but even worse given the fact that the entire pitch he gave to voters was that he would finally usher in an America First agenda. He would finally focus on the little guy, the forgotten person. Apparently that meant cutting healthcare and food assistance while...
Thank you for watching Great Minds Blacks.